Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 3.5C lesson on equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. The first thing I need you to do for me real quick is just make a small edit. It says, what are the equations of the parallel lines below? We are going to say, what are these slopes? We're going to do this as a class. I'm going to have half the class calculate the red slope, half the class calculate the blue slope, and we're going to compare. And so if you're in class, fabulous. If you're watching this at home, you'll just pause the video and try this on your own. And so remember, when we calculate slope, we're looking at the rise over run. And so this slope is going to be down 1, 2, 3, 4, and right 2. So that's going to be negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2 over 1. Here's what that means. It means that you can also just go down 2 and then right 1. So that point will be on the line down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. So that is our slope of the line, is negative 2 over 1. My people in blue, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to find 2 points that are on the line, and it goes down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, and so on and so forth. So that slope is going to be negative 2 over 1. And what we're going to look at in class is we're going to investigate if you have two different lines that are growing at the same rate of change, they're never going to cross each other, and thus they're going to be parallel. And so if every single time the red line is going to go down 2 and right 1, the blue line is going to do the same thing, so they're never going to cross. So now let's look at a positively sloped line. We know that it's going to be positive slope from the beginning. So I'm just going to pick 2 points, up 1 and then right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. My rise or my run is a positive 1 over 1. So positive 1 over 1. What is my blue slope? The rest of the class is going to do the blue slope, which again is a positive 1 over 1 slope, up 1, right 1. So this is going to be like a discovery thing we do at the beginning. And so this is also a positive 1 over 1 slope. So again, those slopes match. They're never going to cross each other because they're growing at the same rate of change. This even works for horizontal and vertical lines, which we're talking about today. These are horizontal lines. So what is the slope of this line? This is a zero sloped line. We talked about this the other day. This one is also zero slope. So y'all could look at the rise over the run. There's no rise at all. There's only run. So it's going to be 0 over 1. What is 0 over anything? It's 0. Same thing here, this point and this point. That's 0 over 2. What is 0 divided by anything? Again, it's 0. So these still have the same slope. They're totally flat. They're two different lines. Those are going to be parallel to each other. So what are we going to learn and discover in class? We're going to learn that parallel lines have the same slope, but different. They're going to have different y-intercepts. Okay, they're going to have different y-intercepts or x-intercepts. They're going to be different lines unless they're coinciding, which means they're perfectly on top of each other. So all of these are two different lines with different y-intercepts or x-intercepts. Okay. So what, and y'all, this is lame and dumb, but this is the way I remember this. Our parallel symbol looks like this. If you turn it sideways, it looks like this. Same, equal slopes. They're going to have equal slopes to each other. So what is the equation of a line that's parallel to this line with the y-intercept of 0, negative 1? So they're giving me a point on the line. We could use point slope. We could use slope-intercept form. I'm going to go point slope because that's my personal favorite. I can write it both ways, though. And so what is the slope of the line that they give me? Mx plus b. Well, we know that the slope is 3. So that's my m. So if it's going to be parallel to this equation, it's going to be y minus, what's my y1? Negative 1, so that turns into a positive 1, just like yesterday, equals my same slope, 3, or 3 over 1, times x minus 0. If you wanted to do that in slope-intercept form, it would be y equals 3x. What's your y-intercept? That'd be minus 1. So those are the same, it's the equation of the same line, just written in different forms. So their slope-intercept form is the second one, point-slope form is the first one. Okay, same thing here. They give me a slope. What do they give me a slope of? Negative 1/2. So if there's a line that has the equation y equals negative 1/2 x, what is the equation of a line that is parallel to it? You can write it one of two ways. Again, here's my x1, y1. It also gives you the intercept. So I'm going to do point slope form. Y minus 5 equals the same slope. Parallel slope has to grow at the same rate of change, negative 1/2, times x minus 0. And so you could just do x. If you wanted to write the minus 0, That is totally fine as well. They're going to simplify it in textbooks. They're going to go ahead and just erase this part and say y minus 5 equals negative 1/2 x. Okay. If you did it in slope-intercept form, it's going to be y equals same slope, negative 1/2 x. And then what is your y-intercept? It's a positive 5. So again, point slope form, slope-intercept form. I don't care which one you do. What is a line that's parallel to this one? Now this one's interesting because I don't have a number written in front of x, but I know that it's going to be an understood 1. And so I'm going to say y minus, here's my x1, y1. It gives me a point. So this one does not have a y-intercept. It just gives me a random point on the line. So we're going to use point slope for sure. So y minus 2 equals the same slope, so 1, it's an understood 1, you don't have to write it, times x minus 2. Again, in a textbook, they're going to simplify that, and they're just going to write y minus 2 equals x minus 2. Okay, so that's in point slope form. All right, what is the equation parallel to this line? Well, this line is already in the form of slope-intercept. So there's my slope, and then here's my x1, y1 I want it to go through. And so we're going to say y minus, what's my y1? It's going to be 0. Equals m, which is going to be the same slope, 2. It's got to be parallel and go through this point, x minus a negative 3 turns into a positive 3. And so that is the equation of a line that is parallel to the given line, and it goes through a different point. All right, what are the equations of the perpendicular lines below? Again, cross out the word equations for me. Let's change that to slopes. Let's just investigate slopes to get started. So again, I'm going to have the class do the exact same thing in person. We're going to find the slope of the blue line. Slope of the blue line is rise is 1, run is 3. We know it's a positive line. It's a positive 1 over 3. The red line, let's pick 2 points. Here we go. So that is down 1, 2, 3. So down 3 and right 1. We know it's going to be a negatively sloped line. So that's going to be negative 3 over 1. And so we have 1 is a positive 1 over 3. And then the other slope that's perpendicular, it says that they're perpendicular, which means they cross each other at 90. The other slope is negative 3 over 1. Okay, let's do that again on this graph and see if you notice anything. Here's a point, up 1, right 2. So this is going to be a positively sloped 1/2 line, up 1 over 2. The other one is negative, and this is happening again. So we have a negatively sloped line. Down 2, right 1, rise over run, negative 2 over 1. So again, one's positive, one's negative, and then do you notice anything about the numbers? They both have a 1 over 2, but the red one is a 1 over 2. The blue one is a 2 over 1. Okay? All right, horizontal and vertical lines. My slope on this red line is undefined. It has a rise, you can do this, it has a rise of, you could look at it several ways, but 1 over 0, no run. So that gives you an error that's undefined when you put that in your calculator. But this other line has a slope of 0. And so what we are going to learn is that if you have a horizontal and a vertical line, those are always going to be perpendicular to each other. Those cross each other at 90. And so those are opposite reciprocals. Let's look at that real quick. This had a rise of 0 and a run of 1. So 0 over 1, that's okay to do. That gives you 0. Okay? And so what we're going to discover in class together is that perpendicular lines are going to have opposite reciprocal slopes. Here's what that means. That means that opposite, they're going to have different signs. One will be positive and one will be negative. So let's do that in colors. One will be positive and one will be negative. Okay? They're going to have perpendicular slopes, which means they cross each other at 90. If one has a positive a over b slope and the other one has a negative b over a slope. So reciprocal means flip the fraction. Opposite means change the sign. So one will be positive a over b. One will be negative b over a. You switch the sign and you flip the fraction. So now it says find the slope of a line that would be perpendicular to this equation. So the first thing you need to do is find the slope. So what's the slope? Positive 2 over 3. So what's going to be my opposite reciprocal to that? It's going to be the flip. Positive 2 over 3 is going to be perpendicular to a slope that is going to be negative 3 over 2. So you flip the sign and you flip the fraction. Okay. What is my next slope? It's negative 1/2. So what is the flip of that? Negative 1/2 is going to be perpendicular to a slope of positive 2 over 1. So again, flip the fraction, change the sign. Okay. This one, we have a positive 4. I like to put that over 1 slope. So what is the opposite reciprocal to positive 4 over 1? That is going to give me negative 1 over 4. Will be a perpendicular slope to that line. This one, there's an understood negative 1 in front of this, negative 1 over 1. So what is the opposite reciprocal to a negative 1 over 1 slope? That is going to be a positive 1 over 1 slope, so positive 1. All right, this next one is written in point slope form. Y'all, apparently part of this disappeared. We'll just go, I'll throw a +3 right there. The only thing we really care about if we're making a perpendicular slope is the slope that's given. As long as they're not coinciding, there'll be different lines. And so what is the opposite reciprocal to a positive 1 over 4? That is going to be perpendicular to a slope of negative 4 over 1. Negative 4 over 1. Same thing here. This is a positive 5 over 1. So what is opposite reciprocal to that? We're going to take the fraction, flip the sign, so it's negative, flip the fraction, so it's negative 1/5. Okay, so that's just practice. And now we're going to write an equation of a line that is perpendicular to this line. So we're going to pay attention to the slope, but it passes through a different point at 0, -3. So again, we're going to use point slope here. So there's my x1, there's my y1. You could use slope intercept form because that's technically a y-intercept, but I like point slope. So y minus -3 becomes a +3 equals opposite reciprocal slope. So we're going to take that 3/4. We're going to flip it to -4/3. And then that's going to be x minus 0. Again, you don't have to write that -0 part, but that would be in point slope form. All right, perpendicular to this one, well, what's written that we understand is there? It's going to be a -1. And we want it to go through this point, x1, y1. So we're assuming that it's a different line. And so I'm going to go y minus, what's my y1? That is a 3, equals perpendicular slope to -1 over 1 is going to be a positive 1 over 1, or a positive 1. And that's going to be x minus, that is going to be 7. Okay, so that's in point slope form. So your homework is on the back. We'll talk more about this in class, but you have, I want you to circle 2. So there's 3 problems here. Circle at least 2 of the 3. I don't care which ones you choose. Circle 2 of the 3 to do on that top section. And then you're going to circle 2 of the problems on the bottom. And then we're going to talk about actually graphing them and starting your projects that are going to be the stained glass window projects. So thank you, and I hope you've had a fabulous day.